I, 32F, and Mark, 35M, met during my second year of college. I was studying literature while he was completing his MBA. We met because of my roommate Amy, who was dating Mark's best friend Tom. My sister Sarah, 29F, was a freshman at the same college studying accounting. Our family wasn't wealthy growing up. Our parents ran a small Italian restaurant that barely paid the bills. They worked 80-hour weeks to put both Sarah and me through college. Sarah was always the smart one, straight A's, academic scholarships, internships at big firms. I was average in comparison, but I loved teaching and working with kids. Mark came from a similar background. His parents owned a small electronics store. He worked there throughout high school and college, learning about business from the ground up. That's what drew me to him initially, his strong work ethic and family values. He spent weekends helping his parents with inventory and accounting instead of partying like other college guys. Sarah and Mark clicked immediately because of their shared interest in business. While I graded papers for my teaching assistant job, they spent hours discussing market trends and business strategies. Sarah even helped Mark with his MBA thesis. I encouraged their friendship because I was happy my boyfriend and sister got along so well. After graduation, Mark got a job at Anderson Consulting while I started teaching at Lincoln High School. Sarah was still in college, but she spent every weekend at our apartment. She said the campus was too noisy to study, so she preferred working on her assignments at our place. Mark often helped her with her business courses, and they worked late into the night on projects. My parents adored Mark. He was everything they wanted in a son-in-law: hardworking, ambitious, and family-oriented. They appreciated how he helped Sarah with her studies and career planning. Mom always said we were lucky to have him in our family. Even after Sarah graduated and got a job at Price & Cooper accounting firm, she spent most weekends with us. Mark proposed after 2 years of dating. Sarah helped him plan everything, from choosing the ring to arranging the family dinner where he proposed. The ring was expensive, and I found out later that Sarah had contributed her savings to help Mark buy it. I thought it was sweet of her to care so much about our engagement. Our wedding was relatively small because of our family's financial situations. Sarah was my maid of honor and gave a 20-minute speech about her relationship with Mark and me. She talked about their late-night study sessions, their shared dreams of starting businesses, and how she knew Mark was perfect for our family. Looking back, she spoke more about her connection with Mark than about us as a couple. The first few years of marriage were tough financially. Mark decided to start his own consulting firm with his college friend James. I supported us with my teaching salary while Mark built his business. Sarah, who was doing well at Price & Cooper, helped them set up their accounting systems for free. She got a key to our house because she often needed to work late with Mark on the business finances. Things improved when Mark's business took off. We bought a nice house in the suburbs, but I kept teaching because I loved my job. Sarah was promoted to senior accountant at her firm but still made time to help Mark with his business. She came over almost daily, usually when I was at work, saying she needed to review business documents with Mark. The changes started 6 months ago. Mark began having more business trips than usual. He had meetings every other night. Sarah stopped coming over as frequently, claiming she was busy with work. When she did visit, she and Mark barely spoke to each other. I assumed they had some disagreement about the business finances. Last week was our 10th anniversary. I spent months planning a big celebration. We rented the grand ballroom at the Riverside Hotel and invited 150 guests. Mark seemed uninterested in the planning, but I thought he was just busy with work. The night before the party, my laptop crashed while I was finalizing the seating arrangements. Mark was at a business dinner, so I used his laptop, which he always left unlocked because he claimed he had nothing to hide. That's when I found their emails. The emails went back a year. They had been meeting in hotels during his business trips. Sarah scheduled her work trips to coincide with his. They bought a condo together 6 months ago and had a joint bank account. They planned vacations together, including one for next month to celebrate Sarah's 30th birthday. They wrote about me in the emails. They called me naive for not noticing anything. They joked about how I believed their business meetings excuse. Mark complained about how I was too focused on my teaching career instead of supporting his business growth. Sarah wrote about how she was tired of pretending to be just a sister when she wanted to be with Mark openly. I found receipts for gifts, jewelry from Tiffany's, designer bags, things Mark said we couldn't afford when I asked for them. There were photos of them together on fancy vacations during times Mark told me he was at business conferences. At the anniversary party, I waded through Mark's speech about our perfect marriage and how blessed he was to have me and Sarah in his life. When it was my turn to speak, I connected my laptop to the projector we were using for our anniversary slideshow. Instead of showing our marriage photos, I displayed their emails, receipts, and pictures. I read their messages out loud, including the ones where they mocked me. Mark tried to stop me, but James and Tom held him back. Sarah ran out crying. My parents sat frozen in their seats. Mark's parents left immediately. Half the guests left within minutes. The other half stayed and watched as I exposed 10 years of lies. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing since then. My parents say I humiliated the entire family. Mark's parents haven't spoken to him. My friends are split, some say I went too far, others say they deserved it. Sarah's firm found out because several of Mark's business associates recognized her in the photos. I'm staying with Amy now. Mark keeps calling, saying we can work things out. Sarah sent a long email apologizing, claiming it just happened and she never meant to hurt me. I haven't responded to either of them. Some people say I should have handled it privately to protect both families' reputations. But I don't feel guilty. They spent a year laughing at me behind my back. Why should I care about their reputations when they didn't care about my feelings? Ida for choosing public exposure over a private confrontation? Update 1: A lot has happened since my last post. After the anniversary party, I spent days going through Mark and Sarah's emails in detail. I discovered something much worse than their affair. Mark had been stealing money from his company to fund his life with Sarah. I created a spreadsheet of their expenses. The condo they bought cost $400,000, with a $80,000 down payment. Sarah's designer bags and jewelry cost over $100,000. They spent $50,000 on vacations last year. Mark bought her a new BMW but registered it under his company as a business vehicle. They even paid $30,000 for a country club membership using company funds. I met with James last week and showed him everything. He already suspected problems with the company finances but couldn't find proof because Sarah had altered the accounting records. Sarah used her knowledge from Price and Cooper to create fake invoices and business expenses to cover their spending. James hired a forensic accountant who discovered Mark had stolen over $950,000 in 3 years. The forensic accountant found they had a system. Sarah created fake consulting companies and Mark approved payments to them. The money went to bank accounts they controlled. They used these accounts to pay for their lifestyle. Sarah even created fake expense reports for business trips that were actually their romantic getaways. James dissolved their partnership immediately. 8 of their 10 biggest clients left after learning about the financial fraud. 3 clients are considering legal action because Mark used their retainer payments for personal expenses. The company's reputation is ruined in our city's business community. Mark tried blaming everything on Sarah. He told James that Sarah handled all the accounting and he trusted her completely. He claimed she manipulated the accounts without his knowledge to fund her shopping addiction. But I found emails where they discussed exactly how to take the money and which fake companies to create. Sarah lost her job at Price and Cooper. Her bosses found out she helped Mark steal money and falsify accounting records. She went to our parents with a new story, claiming Mark blackmailed her into helping him. She said he threatened to tell everyone about one drunk night in college when they kissed. She said he used that incident to control her for years. I had emails proving she lied. She suggested most of their money hiding schemes. She wrote about how exciting it was to fool everyone. She even bragged about using her accounting skills to steal more money than Mark initially planned. My parents finally looked at the evidence. They saw messages where Sarah talked about wanting to leave her boyfriend for Mark since college. Rebecca, Mark's high school girlfriend, messaged me after seeing my post on Facebook. She told me Mark and Sarah had dated secretly during his college breaks, before he met me. Sarah was still in high school then. Rebecca caught them making out in Mark's car once but they convinced her to keep quiet. They broke up when Sarah started college, then Mark started dating me a few months later. I also discovered they used company money to rent an apartment near Sarah's office last year. They told their doorman they were married. Sarah wore a ring Mark bought her with stolen money. They hosted dinner parties there for Sarah's work friends, pretending to be a couple. Some of these friends were at our anniversary party and now everything made sense to them. 5 former clients called me asking about the stolen money. They wanted to know if Mark used their consulting fees for personal expenses. I directed them to James because I didn't want to be involved in the business side. James told me later that these clients are planning a lawsuit against Mark. Sarah keeps trying to contact me through different people. She got our cousin Lisa to invite me to lunch. She sent messages through mutual friends. She tried visiting my school but security stopped her because I warned them about her. She even went to Amy's house looking for me, but Amy told her to leave. Mark's parents called yesterday. They're selling their house and vacation home to help Mark repay the stolen money. They want me to ask James not to press charges. They said Mark made mistakes but doesn't deserve prison. I told them I have no control over the legal consequences of their son's actions. I found out Mark and Sarah planned to move to California next year. They had already contacted real estate agents and were looking at houses. Sarah applied for accounting jobs there. They planned to tell everyone they fell in love after Mark and I divorced. They wanted to present themselves as a legitimate couple who found love after a failed marriage. Our extended family is divided. My mom's side supports me and cut contact with Sarah. My dad's side thinks I should forgive her because she's family. Mark's extended family is also split. His siblings support me, but his cousins think I overreacted by exposing everything publicly. I'm still staying with Amy. I filed for divorce last week. Mark's assets are frozen because of the fraud investigation, so the divorce might take longer than usual. Sarah emptied her savings account and moved back in with our parents because she can't afford her apartment anymore. I keep finding more evidence of their deception. Old photos show them looking too close at family events. Text messages from mutual friends mention seeing them together at restaurants when Mark was supposed to be working. Everything makes sense now. All the late nights, business trips, and weekend meetings were just excuses to be together. Update: 2 things have gotten more complicated since my last update. Mark's lawyer sent documents to the divorce court claiming I knew about the stolen money all along. They included emails showing I supposedly helped plan the theft. The emails showed conversations between Mark and me discussing how to hide money from the company. The documents included bank statements with my signature showing I withdrew money from the fake company accounts. They had photos of me at business meetings where the theft was supposedly planned. They even produced receipts with my signature for some of the gifts Mark bought Sarah. I panicked until James looked at the evidence. His IT team checked the emails and found they were created recently. The bank signatures didn't match mine. The photos were from legitimate business meetings years ago, before Mark started stealing money. James had records proving all those meetings were about actual client projects. Mark's lawyer quit after James proved the evidence was fake. The new lawyer tried negotiating a deal, but the prosecutor refused. Mark and Sarah are both facing criminal charges for fraud and falsifying business records. The prosecutor added more charges after discovering they filed false tax returns. I found messages on Mark's old phone showing they planned this months ago. They knew I might discover their affair eventually. Mark asked his lawyer friend about ways to discredit me. The lawyer suggested using my past anxiety issues against me. I saw a therapist briefly during our first year of marriage because of work stress. They planned to use this to claim I was mentally unstable and imagined the affair. Sarah tried turning my teaching colleagues against me before I exposed them. She visited my school 3 times in the month before our anniversary party. She told my principal I was having mental health issues and making up stories about her and Mark. She suggested they should watch me carefully around students. The principal recorded these conversations and showed them to me last week. James found text messages between Mark and Sarah discussing their backup plans. If I discovered the affair, they planned to claim it started recently and happened only once. If I found proof of multiple meetings, they would say Mark was unhappy in our marriage. If I discovered the stolen money, they would claim I knew about it and approved everything. Their plan fell apart because they didn't know I would find their emails. They thought I wouldn't check Mark's laptop because I trusted him completely. They kept detailed records of everything thinking no one would ever see them. James said this was their biggest mistake, documenting all their crimes in writing. Mark's business friends stopped supporting him after learning about the fake evidence. They thought he was just a cheater, but falsifying documents to frame me changed their minds. Several former clients are now helping James with the investigation by providing records of their past dealings with Mark. Sarah lost more than her job. Her professional reputation is ruined because she used her accounting skills to commit fraud. Her former colleagues at Price & Cooper found other instances where she helped clients hide money. The firm is investigating all her past work. They contacted her college about revoking her accounting degree because she cheated on her final exams. Mark helped her get the answers. My parents tried to rent an apartment for Sarah since she can't get one with her ruined credit. The landlord recognized her name from local news coverage of the fraud case and refused. She's stuck living in her old bedroom at our parents' house. She lost her car because it was leased under Mark's company name and James repossessed it. I keep finding new ways they deceived everyone. Last week I learned they had a joint credit card they use for shopping and dining. They charged everything as business expenses. They even used it to book couples massages and weekend getaways. The credit card statements show they spent holidays together when Mark told me he was working. Update 3: The legal cases are finally over. Mark accepted a plea deal for 5 years in prison. He has to repay $950,000 to the company and pay fines of $200,000. Sarah got 3 years of probation, lost her accounting license permanently, and has to pay $150,000 in fines. She avoided prison by cooperating with prosecutors and providing evidence against Mark. My parents keep pushing me to forgive Sarah. Last month, they invited both of us to Sunday dinner without telling me she would be there. Mom said we need to move past this because we're sisters. Dad said Sarah is suffering enough with her ruined career and reputation. I walked out and haven't spoken to them since. Mark's parents sold their house, vacation home, and his dad came out of retirement to help repay the stolen money. They sent me a letter apologizing for Mark's behavior and asking me not to block their emails like I did with Mark's. His mom admitted she noticed Mark and Sarah seemed too close at family events but didn't want to cause problems by mentioning it. Sarah works as a waitress at our parents' restaurant now. No one will hire her for office work because of her fraud conviction. She tried applying at retail stores but they all do background checks. She made a social media post about how unfair it is that one mistake ruined her life. Our cousin reminded her that stealing nearly $1 million and having an affair with her sister's husband wasn't just one mistake. I moved to Portland last month. I used my share of our house sale to buy a small bookstore. The previous owner is teaching me about running the business before she retires. James helped me find an honest accountant and lawyer to make sure everything is properly managed. He visits sometimes to check on me and help with business decisions. Mark sent me a letter from prison last week. He wrote 10 pages about how sorry he is and how he realizes he lost everything that mattered. He asked if we could try again when he gets out because Sarah left him after he went to prison. I returned the letter unopened. Some of our old friends contacted me recently. They apologized for believing Mark and Sarah's lies about my mental health. One friend admitted Sarah told her I was jealous and possessive, so she believed I made up the affair accusations. Another friend said Mark convinced him I was unstable and needed help. My new life is completely separate from my old one. I changed my phone number and email address. I only kept in touch with Amy and James. My bookstore is doing well. It's nothing fancy but it pays the bills and makes me happy. I started dating someone I met at a local coffee shop. He doesn't know anything about my past and I prefer it that way. I heard Sarah is writing a book about how Mark manipulated her into the affair and fraud. James sent me parts of it that her publisher shared with him. She changed the story completely, making herself the victim. I don't care enough to correct her lies anymore. My parents can believe whatever version makes them happy. Looking back, I'm glad I exposed them at the anniversary party. Private confrontation would have let them control the narrative. They would have convinced everyone I was crazy or lying. Public exposure with evidence was the only way to show everyone the truth. That's my final update. I'm done thinking about them. My new life has no room for their drama.